Hello, everyone. This is Rob Golfi with REMAX, the Golfi team. Welcome to the Golfi Real Estate Show with host Stephanie Vivier.
Well, hello, Rob. Hello. Welcome to September, a brand new month for us all here, and brand new stats in real estate. How are things in your life, Rob?
Good, really good. I'm enjoying this beautiful weather. It's already fall, which I don't like. I thought summer ends on, is it the 21st of September? What's the actual date that the summer ends?
It is the 21st, but there's something called meteorological fall, which apparently is September 1st. And I feel like our weather is complying with that kind of fall. But I want the fall on the calendar like you.
Yes. I want the leaves to start coming down in October, not now. And
Yeah.
But some of the leaves are coming down. But I like this weather, just like like we were talking one time. This is great clothing weather. Like it's like you were saying, this is your best time of buying fall clothing wear is probably what you like the most, I bet, when this time of the year.
Absolutely. Put the outfits together. You got a nice little jacket, maybe some boots if you want. Shoes you can still do, right? It's not too cold to have the tootsies out, but it's a good time to put outfits together. When you don't have that sweltering heat and you're not covered up in a parka, it's a great time.
Yeah, turtleneck and a scarf. That's all you need in this weather. That's awesome. That's awesome. It's good weather to even
signature look, right? The turtleneck and the scarf.
That's it. Well, this is great weather to look at houses, but the stats this year, the stats that for August, things did pick up, and there was a bit of a correction that happened in June and July, and then things started picking up a little bit in August. And so over here, when we're looking at it, like Fenwick, Fonthill, Pelham in one sector, based on August to August, actually the benchmark price dropped a bit in Fenwick, Fonthill, Pelham. There's a lot of high-end homes, so you're going to see a lot of fluctuations like that, especially in Niagara and the Lake. But if we go to Niagara Falls, from year over year, we only had a 1% decrease in benchmark price in Niagara Falls. Last year in August, the benchmark price was $609,000. This year it's $600,000. So not much of a difference. We're basically flatlining, like I said before. St. Catharines is down 3%. They were $619,000 August of 2024. This year, they're at $600,000, down 3%. And Welland flatlined. Basically, $585,000 was the benchmark price in August 2024. This year, August was $582,500. So it pretty well flatlined there. And I know if you go back on like 6 months, the past 6 months, for instance, in Welland, we were as high in March as 607,000, and that was the highest this year. Now we're at 582,500. Niagara Falls, the highest that we were at, it was 660,000, but now we're down to 600,000 benchmark price in Niagara Falls August. And then in St. Catharines, same thing. The highest we were at was where were we here at 617,000 in May. So June and July really had some significant changes. There was a correction happening in there, but things are starting to pick back up. But it's not going to be significant. So if you're looking at selling your house, it's pretty well flatlined. And if you price it right, you will sell fairly quickly, and you'll get very close to full asking price. A lot of people are making the mistake of overpricing, and then it's sitting. And sometimes, even if you overprice, you get the odd offer that comes in. That offer, you better try to negotiate the best possible price for yourself, even though it's not the price that you actually are hoping for, but that is the best price. We have somebody that we've had the house listed for 10 months. And we got them a great offer right out the gate. We were overpriced, but now they realize they should have taken that offer or worked with that offer. They would have got more money. And even though it wasn't the price, but now they're looking back and they're apologizing, say, Rob, we made the mistake. We made the mistake. We were totally, oblivion of the market. And So if you're out there, you got your house listed and you get an offer in the first 2 weeks, do whatever you can to make that offer or that deal happen, because you will lose the deal. And then 2 months down the road, 3 months down the road, you're going to end up probably getting less than that amount. And it happens. We see it all the time. It happens all the time. So this market is very, very delicate to deal with.
Now, Rob, I know realtors can see price histories on properties. When there is a deal, like say if I make an offer, like you're saying, and your clients turn it down, do other realtors know about that?
No, other realtors don't know if you received an offer or anything, or what the offer came in at or whatever. They don't see that. That's all private information. But when an offer is registered, other realtors see that there is an offer registered, but they have no idea what it is. That's completely private. Now, if that offer does not come together, it shows that the offer ended up dying or not following through.
Okay, so some honesty there in terms of, like, you can't have realtors telling other realtors, oh, we've got an offer. They would know if that was true or not.
Well, no, they wouldn't. But there is a form that we have that that realtors have to sign. Now, if they say there's another offer and they're audited, they have to produce that form to indicate that there was another offer. Otherwise, they can be in a lot of trouble. And it's happened. There was a lady in Quebec that she said that there was another offer. There wasn't, trying to drive prices up, and she actually lost her license. So you got to be very careful. This is a very, very regulated business that we're in, real estate, and our job is to be completely ethical and honest. And but you know what? You get bad apples in every occupation. But we'll call them out if there is anything like that. It'll be easy to be found, and they'll get penalized, fined, and they may lose their real estate license.
Okay, interesting stuff. We're going to talk about one of those bad apples a little later on in the show. You brought us the drama with the iPro Realty scandal, and that has heated up a little bit more. So you're going to bring us that. But first, let's talk about a company called Starlight Investments. Now, listeners might not understand how big Starlight is or what exactly they are, but they are Canada's largest private landlord. So tell us a little bit more about Starlight Investments.
Yeah, so Starlight dramatically increases eviction filings. What's happening is their eviction numbers are way higher than anybody else's, and they're one of the largest landlords in Canada. Now, for example, a Scarborough building with just 2 eviction applications in 9 years saw 29 filings in a single year after Starlight purchased it. Now, rates compared, Starlight files 15 eviction applications per 100 units annually, double the rate of chain-owned buildings. Now, that's 7 per 100, and much higher than nonprofits or single-owner landlords, which is 4 to 5 per 100. Now, evictions are tied to a value-add business model. Now, when suites turn over, landlords can renovate and charge market-level rent by bypassing rent control. So basically, if somebody moves out, most landlords, they'll clean it up and get that unit up to whatever the market rent is. So one guy can end up paying in a building. One guy can end up paying $2,000 a month rent, and the other guy's only paying $1,300 a rent. And I actually have that happening right now. I've got one person paying I think $2,300 for this is a duplex for one unit, and they're identical units, and the other one's only paying $1,500-$1,600. It's just because they've been there a lot longer. The study highlights concerns about displacement, especially in lower income communities where Starlight properties saw more than half of the tenants face eviction filings each year. Now, what's happening here is because there's such a large company, and you deal with this no matter where you go, no matter what it is. When you're dealing with such a large company, that company implements all these rules and regulations. They say if you're late on your rent, boom, you get a form indicate that if you don't have your rent paid in 20 days, you get an eviction notice. And sometimes that happens, but people are stuck for 1 month. So that's why they have more. It's like a computer filing all this. There's not a human being that you're talking to and say, hey, he's explaining about his life situations. He's going through something. and that's where with the smaller landlords, it's a little easier. That's why they don't send out a form. We have a property management company, and we do talk to tenants and say, hey, listen, before we send, we tell them, listen, we're going to send a form if like you're behind or you didn't pay your rent, and they'll say to me, oh, you know what? Here's some rent. I'm going to pay more in 2 weeks. So there is no eviction notice that's given to that tenant because we're working with them. But these large companies that own all this real estate, they're like companies that buy up a lot and people invest in it, and they're on a Toronto Stock Exchange or whatever. There's no personal feelings with anything about that. So sometimes it's good to deal with a smaller landlord than it is with a big landlord like this. When you have problems, at least you can talk to somebody. And that's why Starlight, it's just like you're just a number in this whole landlord tenant situation. And it's tough for a lot of tenants. Sometimes they need help right now, especially now. Times are tough. People are losing their jobs, or maybe they went from full time to part time. It's hard to tell. So again, large companies like this, they have there is no feelings because they don't know about it. They're just letting the employees run it, and the employees, if they don't do their job, they're going to get fired.
Right. They have to follow the rules. And as you mentioned, these are REITs, a lot of them real estate investments, and people's pensions are depending on it. Right. So that, there is an element of horror to thinking, oh, we're going to kick people out. But on the other side, we understand that these businesses make money and people are able to retire on those kinds of funds. Let's go to your property management for a second. Rob, what's your philosophy on this? Like, how would you handle tenants that were late?
We just call them, talk to them, and say, how's things going? Everything okay, and all that kind of stuff. And we try not to make sure, we try to stay on top of them, because you don't want them to get too far behind, because once they get too far behind, it becomes difficult for them to catch up. So, we try to work with them, say, hey, give us a little bit every week from your check if you need help. But if you let them go 1 month completely, guess what? They burn that money if they did have the money for rent. It's gone. Now they're 2 months behind. It's even tougher. So now they're always going to be 2 months behind, and it's going to be hard for them to catch up, because it's tough. And we see that. So that's why you have to stay on top of it and work with them. I mean, everybody has a story, but you don't want to have them take advantage of you also. And there are tenants that are professional tenants, as we call it, and they go in, they give you first and last month's rent, and that's all you're going to get from them. And they end up staying there for 8 to 10 months or even longer, knowing the system, how it is. But that'll change eventually. I mean, tenants won't be able to have that right. A little more time has to go by, and the laws are going to change on that, because there are people literally taking advantage, especially the small landlord, the mom and pop landlord. It's sad to see them. Some of them have to go through all this, and it's devastating for them, because, and then when they move out, the tenant owes them like $40,000-$50,000 in rent. Plus they've done damage to the unit and all that kind of stuff. That's why you got to really, really vent out the tenant. You got to screen them. We do credit checks. We find out where they're living. We find out there's a lot of different things that you got to find out, how long they worked at their place of employment. And make sure. But most of the people that have taken advantage of landlords are the people that got the tenant themselves, like the small mom and pop landlord. You got to get a professional to screen these people out.
Yeah, it's a little bit of cost up front, saves you a whole lot of headache on the back end. You're listening to the Golfi Real Estate Show. Rob Golfi is with us today. You can find out more about them at robgolfi.com, robgolfi.com. Rob's sticking around, and as I said, we will talk about that iPro Realty scandal, some news when it comes to that. And condos, is it a good idea to buy one? There's a whole lot out there on the market. That's on the way. This is the Golfi Real Estate Show on 610 CKTV, Niagara's News and Talk.
Are you worried about selling your home on time and for the most money? Hi, I'm Rob Golfi. Every year we invest millions of dollars in our advanced marketing system, ensuring your home is seen by tens of thousands of potential buyers. We don't just hope it sells, we make it sell.
Welcome back to the Golfi Real Estate Show. I'm Steph Vivier. Rob Golfi is with us today from the #1 real estate team in Canada, the Golfi team. And Rob, let's talk about condos. You're always great on giving us both sides of the argument, and following along with the condo market hasn't been the most positive news. What's going on with condos now?
Yeah, so according to CMHC, condo sales have dropped 75% in the GTA and 37% in Vancouver since 2022. Rents have also declined, leaving many units sitting empty. A lot of people that bought 4 years ago, they're starting to close now, and a lot of them closed this year and last year. So, and it's negative equity. Many pre-construction buyers now face condos worth less than their mortgages, and some can't close their purchases because banks won't even close because they say, hey, it's not worth what you actually purchased it, and are forcing developers to cancel projects. So basically, since the 2000s, condos were marketed heavily to middle-class mom-and-pop investors, not end users. Cheap credit and weak rent control in the 2010s fueled demand, but rising interest rates and high living costs have flipped that script. So never condos are smaller, often under 700 square feet with odd layouts and cheap construction materials. Buyers increasingly prefer older, better built units. So this is a perfect example. A friend of mine asked me, Rob, there was a building going up. He goes, should I buy it? I said, I'm not a big fan of condos, and everybody knows that. I don't. I think it's a high price already as it is. I can't see in 4 years going even more. And he didn't buy. Thank God. He listened to my advice on that. And and now what's happening in these condo buildings, the developers are they're taking over like 20, 30 units, maybe more, 40 units, and they have to resell them again. And they'll go after the people that made the deal, that walked away from it. They're walking away from their their deposit. But yeah, some of them can't afford to close because life changed in 4 years. But now new condo developments aren't really happening because what drives the condo market to be built, the condo building to be built, is investors. So you get 500 investors, and each investor, some investors buy one, some buy two, three. That's how they build up these condos real quick and fast especially in the Hamilton and GTA. But nothing is being built. Whatever's originally started 3 years ago, 2 years ago, or 5 years ago is now starting to become in the finished processes. And banks are saying, sorry, I know you bought that condo for $750,000 4 years ago, but that condo today is only worth maybe $650,000. So the banks are saying, you either got to put a bigger deposit, a bigger down payment down, could be another $100,000 on top of what the 20% is, and they may not have it, and so they're going to lose their deposit, and they can get sued if the developer has to resell it, and they resell it for a lot less than what the original price was when they bought it. So there's a lot of that happening. So I'm not a big condo buyer myself. But the other problem is when you buy a condo, you've got taxes, you've got condo fees, you've got your mortgage, and you've got insurance on this thing. Like it's hard to carry right now if you buy as an investment and to rent it out. It's tough. So you got to be very careful when you're buying these condos as an investment.
Okay, I have so many questions about this. Why? Like, what happened with condos? You think everything about it. I know they're smaller, maybe not ideal for families, but we have so many people, and just the influx of them, and they have to live somewhere. And particularly in the markets that you outline, the Toronto, Vancouver market, you've got so many people needing housing there. Like, what really led to this downfall of just condos not being the thing?
Well, again, the investors, they bought so many of them, and now they're trying to unload them because of the interest rates, and which spurred an abundance of available condos for sale or for rent, and a lot of the people can't even afford to, like the investors can't even afford to rent them. So let's say their expenses on a condo is $4,000, but the most rent they can get is $2,700. So they're losing maybe $1,300 a month just keeping that condo, even receiving rent. And so that's why there's such a big drop, and there's an abundance of condos for sale. Like all these investors, they're trying to unload them, and a lot of them, if they can afford it, they'll take the loss and move on. And some of them can't afford to take the loss, but some of them are being repossessed, or it was a frenzy that we went through, and all these investors are the ones that drive the condo market. They're the ones that, because mostly the people, the end user, like the ma and pa or even the first time buyers buying condos, it's a small percentage when it goes to every building that goes up for development.
Okay, so it's a real speculation frenzy here, and now they're suffering. If the interest rates go down, might we see a reversal of this trend?
Slowly. There's a correction happening in the condo market, and the prices have to get to a point where somebody like an investor can buy it, and they can rent it out for all what the expenses are. They put their 20% down, and they can collect the rent, and everything's covered. But right now, that's not the case right now. And a lot of renewals are happening this year and next year on mortgages, and people are getting mortgages around 4.25% right now, maybe 4.5%, and we got to get it under probably around 3.9%. Get a 5-year rate at that number, and if the rent covers, that's great. But right now, we have an abundance of condos that are for sale and for rent, and that's what's driving the rental market down, which is good for people that are looking to rent a place. And you can go and make a deal. Like if you know your lease is up on your condo that you're renting, just say to the landlords that say, look, there's 10 for rent in this building, and I can get it cheaper. So we can do two things. We can you reduce my rent to the market rent, or I'm going to give you my 60 days notice. I'm going to grab one of those other ones for a lot cheaper. It could be $500 less a month. And that landlord that has that tenant in that unit right now, he's better off making the deal with that tenant, because he's going to lose that tenant. He's going to have probably a couple of months empty. He thinks he might be able to get more rent, but he won't. And then he'll realize that he made the mistake of letting that tenant go. He should have just redid the deal, but maybe he can't afford to. He's going to have to. Always
an opportunity for somebody, right?
There's always an opportunity. Always.
Yeah.
Talk to an experienced real estate agent, and they'll tell you the opportunities, whether it's for the landlord or for the tenant, regardless. Right now, tenants have the opportunity. There's opportunity for them to renegotiate and get a better rent price for their unit.
All right, take that in. Now, Rob, you're always making predictions on the show, and we've been doing this show for a while, and I have a bit of a prediction, okay? I don't know if I'm way off base. You tell me what you think. There is a mandate coming in the beginning of the year where all public servants have to go back into the office 5 days a week. And that has been the trend as well with public companies, private companies as well, where everyone is getting back to the office. This idea that, remote work is almost coming to an end. Do you think in the Toronto area, you will see people who made the move, say, to the Hamilton, Niagara, different markets because they didn't have to go in the office? Do you think they'll see a bit of a return, and maybe the condo market heats up from that? What do you think?
I think the condo market will pick up because of that, because yes, you're right. A lot of people did move out of the GTA and moved into Niagara and Hamilton because it was cheaper. They were working at home, and they were getting the Toronto salaries. But I do think that these people, they're in for a big awakening, because what happens is once you move into an area that's less value in real estate, you kind of get adapted to those prices. So now when they sell their house in Niagara Falls, St. Catharines, or Welland, and now they got to go back to Toronto, it's going to be tough, because they might be able to sell their house for $700,000 in Niagara Falls, and now they got to buy a condo, and it's a lot smaller, and more expensive to carry by buying a condo in downtown Toronto, so that they can go to work and not deal with the heavy traffic every single day. And we're going to see a lot of that. So like when you drive downtown Toronto, you used to see this, the streets were packed with people walking around. You don't see that as much as you used to. So that will happen again probably in the next couple years when everybody does and have to move back. And it's a tough that's a tough drive to go, you know, from Niagara or even Hamilton to Toronto every single day. I wouldn't want to do it. I would, you know, otherwise people will have to look for a job locally, and if they want to stay and not move, not work in Toronto.
All right. Well, there you go. I'm being a little prognosticator, just like you, Rob. We'll see. We'll see how things go. Oh, you've got a whole new term for us today: wholesaling real estate. So, I mean, wholesaling, that to me sounds like a bunch of stuff all put together. What is it when it comes to real estate?
Oh, so wholesaling, you got it. So this is, you know what? All the creatures and crawlers come out when times are tough. So wholesaling in real estate is when someone, the wholesaler, puts a property under contract, usually at a discounted price from a motivated seller. Now, like distressed properties, foreclosures, or people needing a quick sale. Now, instead of actually buying the property themselves, the wholesaler then assigns or sells that contract to another buyer, usually an investor or or a landlord. So what happens is, so we get a call from one of our clients that we have their house up for sales in Niagara Falls, and he was approached by someone saying, "Hey, listen, I want to put a full price offer on your house, but I only want to put what is it? The conditions. This is it. The conditions are, I have it right here. Conditions are that he wants to 30-day. He wants a 30-day closing, conditional period, 30 days from the date of acceptance. Okay, so basically, and then closing date 90 days from date of acceptance, and he wants to be able to assign it to somebody once he resells it himself, while it's for sale with us on MLS. Now, the deposit to be provided 30 days upon the offer becoming firm. Now, these guys, they go in, they give the pie in the sky to these guys, and they try to resell it. They're trying to resell this thing at a higher price, so they make a lift in the difference in price. And it's not as easy as what these wholesalers think they can do. They go and they take this weekend course in the U.S., and the U.S. has all these kind of funny deals going on all the time. In Canada, we're so regulated, you cannot do this. And the MLS doesn't like this. And agents do not like this. So we said to the client, say, you can go with this, but you're hurting your listing. You're going to hurt. These guys are going to renegotiate with you after 30 days when they need the deposit, and give you another, ask you for another extension because, you know, they had some investors interested, but they changed their mind. And then once they do, if they do get an offer, which they won't, they're going to beat you up on the price. And so we said to him, if you want to go that route, we'll cancel the listing. You can deal with him directly, and we're going to stay out of it. And he said, no. He realized that it's not a good thing. It's just you know what? And they're approaching everybody with this. And I don't see, like, the market's tough. I don't see how they're going to resell this thing and for a higher price unless they sell it to somebody in a different province that doesn't know the market here, that what's happening. And but yeah, no, it's not a good thing when you see these gimmicks and stuff like that. It's the same thing with those signs that you see on the street. You know, we'll buy your house for cash fast, right? Those are good deals. Yeah. Those are, you know what, they do that, but they really, like, if you have a house that's worth, let's say, $600,000, these guys are buying it for $500,000. And some people don't know that. Like, they think their house is worth $500,000, and meanwhile they just go ahead and flip it after.
Yeah, well, they get, you know, people get in desperate situations and who knows, whatever life situation. So it sounds easier than to just call this number, get your house sold, and move on, right? So they really prey on that. Are these realtors, or what is their association other than, like you said, taking this weekend course and thinking that they can flip it for more?
They're not realtors. They're just people that, you know, taking these courses, and they think they can implement these American style of real estate acquisitions here in Canada the same way. It doesn't work that way.
All right, there you go. Watch out for it. It is happening, and Rob Golfi is telling us about it. If it has to do with the real estate world, you're listening to the Golfi Real Estate Show. I'm Steph Vivier. Rob is sticking around, and he is going to bring us the latest on the iPro Realty scandal. Our premier is even interested at this point. You're listening to 610 CKTV, Niagara's News and Talk.
I know the importance of hiring the best agents.
I'll take a photo of your house and post it on the World Wide Web.
Next,
our multi-million-dollar marketing system reaches tens of thousands of potential home buyers every day.
Go to robgolfi.com and put the best team to work for you.
Welcome back to the Golfi Real Estate Show. I'm Steph Vivier. Rob Golfi is with us today. And Rob, you introduced us to the iPro Realty scandal a few weeks ago now, and the whole thing is just getting more and more juicy. Can you take us back to just explain what the iPro Realty scandal is for anybody who missed that conversation?
So iPro Realty is a brokerage. I think they're based out of Toronto, and I think they have 17 offices across Ontario with about 2,400 agents. And what happened was, so everything goes through the one office, I'm assuming, for deposits, like the deposit, like if you buy a house and you need a deposit to secure the house, like it could be 10, 20,000, 50,000 or whatever. So iPro Realty has a trust account like a lot of other brokerages do. And that trust account, we hold that money for you. And that money is not supposed to be touched. It stays there until the day the property closes, when the closing happens on the property. And then you get a letter from the lawyer saying, hey, the deal's closed. Now you can either they need that money for the deal to close. So we transfer that money to the lawyer's office so they can close the deal. Now, what happened with these people? They were taking money out of that trust account and doing something else with it. And the problem here is, so what's going on is the government's getting involved here with this. Now it says, the Ontario government has formally warned the Real Estate Council of Ontario, RECO as we call it, the province real estate regulators, that it may assume control if not satisfied with the results of an ongoing audit into the handling of the iPro Realty scandal. The problem here is, it shows here, it says, RECO found iPro co-founders in Rule Alvis and Fedel Colucci or something like that illegally dispersed $10.5 million from the trust accounts, the largest financial breach ever investigated by RECO. Despite this, both men avoided fines and charges. They're going, what's going on? These guys, they should be going to jail with $10.5 million, especially if you own a trust account. Lawyers have trust accounts. Real estate brokers have trust accounts. Now, roughly 2,400 iPro Realty employees across 17 offices were transformed to iCloud. So all of a sudden, hey, they close up, and the next day they're a different company. And iCloud Realty and RECO facilitated the deal. They said, okay, RECO said, okay, well, we'll let you do that. Okay. Now, government action. Minister Stephen Crawford, director of RECO's board, that the audit conducted by Dentons Canada, whatever that is, must examine the roles, responsibility, actions, and decisions of all staff and board members involved. He expects findings to be made public in late October. Now, Crawford warned that if unsatisfied, it could appoint an administrator to take control. Now, the problem here is that this happened in May, but nothing was done till July. So, and the other problem was the people that were on iPro Realty were on the board for the Real Estate Council of Ontario, RECO. So they see there was a, you know what I mean? So they probably knew him, and he said, listen, I'm going to clean this up. And they gave him 4 months to clean it up, which they should have shut him down 4 months ago. So all these people giving deposits could lose their deposits. And
yeah, I think it's important too, Rob, to explain to people, like, when you give that money, and even if I'm not mistaken, it's been a while since I bought a house, but it says, like, right on the bank draft, in trust, right? And you're trusting when you give that money that it's going to be there, right? Like, this is a high level of confidence you're giving.
Absolutely. It is a high level of confidence. And the crazy part about it is like these guys had 4 months. Like they shouldn't have given that. They should have shut it down. Like you're only insured up to $100,000. So if you put a deposit of $150,000 on a house that you're buying, and you have to write that to the real estate brokerage, right? It could be anybody,
Yep.
REMAX, Royal LePage, and whatever. And now that brokerage closes up or gets shut down because they were not doing their job right. You're only insured up to 100,000. That 50,000, you're done. Forget it. Goodbye.
Wow.
Gone in the
Yeah.
wind. Gone. So that's one aspect of it. Now, this was a big one. A lot of guys are resigning or quit or getting fired from the Real Estate Council of Ontario because they shouldn't let this guy continue operating, even though he was messing around with the trust accounts. Anybody else, they would have shut their doors down before it got worse. Well, these guys, it got worse. And look at that. Now, $10.5 million was missing out of that trust account.
Wow. Wow. That is absolutely incredible. And RICO, their whole job is to regulate your industry, right, Rob? And they do, as I understand, regular audits of these trust accounts, right?
Absolutely. I've been audited. I'm not sure how many times, but we get audited all the time. And they look, and they'll, you know what? If what happens is, one time we had a deposit made. It was nothing to do with a real estate transaction. It was about, I think it was about $2,000, and it went into our trust account by accident. So we have to really write a full thing about, okay, we got to take that money out of there because it wasn't supposed to be there. It was supposed to go into a general account, and we got to make sure we got all the notes on that $2,000 that went into the other account, because otherwise, if we don't, they'll shut you down. I'm telling you, you can't mess around with the trust accounts. Even lawyers, if they mess around with trust accounts, they will be shut down and investigated. So, and you know what? Again, like, who knows what these guys were doing? I mean, $10.5 million.
That's the big question here, right? Like, did they take this money to try to invest and turn it into more money? It almost seems like, it's all speculative, but when you add in this whole RICO board, perhaps there was some buddy stuff going on, it makes the whole thing even worse.
Yeah, I don't think they were really trying to steal money. I think they were using it to keep them afloat on something else. And their intentions probably were to pay it back. And that's why in May, when they got audited, they basically told RICO, listen, we're going to pay it back. Just give us some time and we'll make this right. And the only reason they got that, that grace period is because he was on the board before with RICO. So they all knew each other. So they basically gave him a lifeline, which he shouldn't have, and they were putting other new clients at risk of losing money. And so RICO can even get sued themselves if anybody put more than $100,000 deposit and say, hey, listen, I just did a deal. I lost, I put $150,000 down deposit. I only getting $100,000. That $50,000, if you guys shut that guy down, I wouldn't have been in this situation. So there's going to be a lot of lawsuits happening, and they'll win. They'll win. They shouldn't have shut that. They should have shut that guy down in May, not in July.
And it really rocks the confidence. Sometimes people can have certain opinions or feelings about the industry, but when you read about something like this, it certainly doesn't help people who have, I don't know, negative thoughts about realtors or the real estate industry, right?
It's weird. The larger the companies you deal with, I mean, this was a fairly large company, but most people that were with iPro Realty, really, they were part-time agents and stuff like that. They didn't really do that many deals. If you looked at it, 75% of them didn't really hardly do any business. So it was more of a place where people would park their license, for 2 to 5 years. Now, if you deal with, strong brands that you see out there, you won't have that problem because they're being watched and they're regulated, and they got a big business. They're not gonna risk their business you know, to lose their license and being shut down. Because if you're shut down, you just lost the business that you spent your lifetime building. You know, but these people, I don't know what they were doing. I don't know why they did that. But that is like touching that account is a huge risk, and it gets you in a lot of trouble. And sometimes I've seen where a law office where they had their trust account was touched, but it wasn't touched by the lawyer. It was touched by the legal secretary was embezzling money out of the trust account.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and guess who's on the line for that is the lawyer, and he shouldn't have had the legal secretary write those checks and sign them. And so there's that happens all the time where the lawyer, you know, trusted his legal secretary, and they ended up having problems. So yeah, it's like I said, you know what I mean? There's bad apples in every industry, and you just gotta, you know, make sure, just deal with reputable people, and you'll be good. I'll tell you, 99% of the reputable people aren't gonna mess around like that. You know what I mean? You got to deal with experience, reputable, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I think the good part about this story is like it did get caught, right? We're not sitting here talking about, you know, someone's deposit was lost. They lost that $150,000 or whatever it is, right? Like this error did get picked up, but the concern is like what could have happened here. And even if you've got someone who has the best of intentions, like we all know how those situations can just spiral out of control, you know, in short order.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, look, you know what? Who knows what scams are going in on there? I just saw a Netflix series where the guy that created the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC, he was running a Ponzi scheme, and people were investing, and he looked like this big hero guy, and nobody would assume this guy was, you know, spending and using other people's money to run his business, run his other business. And at the end, he got caught up, and he ended up going to jail. And, you know, and these guys should be going to jail. They should not mess around with that account. That is taboo. That is very taboo.
So are they still, because you said they kind of like, you know, rebranded themselves as whatever it was.
iCloud Realty. Yeah.
So are they still running that, or now with the increased visual, you know, of the media and everything, and now the province is looking at this, are they shut down? Like, what's their status?
So iCloud Realty, a lot of the agents have their license parked over there, but they're getting investigated. They're going to end up getting shut down because they shouldn't even have had the opportunity to open up another company and transfer all the agents' licenses over to that. We actually picked up some of the iPro Realty agents that don't want any affiliation to deal with iPro. They just said no, we can't have that. And they're just you can't mess around with that. You can't. And the agents, a lot of them are scattered all over the place. They're going a different direction. And,
Well, I mean, if you don't have the consumers' confidence, then what do you really have?
Oh, for sure.
Right.
Yeah. Like, I mean, it's all over the newspapers that they went from iPro to iCloud, and what you're going to trust? You think if I was a buyer looking at buying a house and the guy's now iCloud Realty, I'm going to say, well, listen, you just came from iPro and you guys screwed around with the trust account. Forget that. I get either you move as a realtor or I get another realtor from a different company. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really important stuff. All right, Rob. Well, we are getting into these weekends. Everyone's back to school. Do you think you're going to see more people looking at houses? What do you think as September people get back to, you know, kind of that routine? What do you think the month's going to be like?
Yeah, the second week into September will start picking up. Usually the first week right after Labor Day, it's still, you know, people are adjusting to you know, going back to school and everything else. But usually mid-September, we're going to start seeing more activity. And I think it'll be a decent fall this year. We're going to see some activity. Houses are starting more moving. Nobody's waiting for that interest rate drop anymore. Like everybody was waiting for that. So and housing prices are coming to a little bit of a realization. For sellers, they're realizing they're not going to get the big dollars like they would have gotten in 2021 and partially in 2022.
All right. So good things and a busy month ahead for you, Rob. Thank you so much for your time today.
And thank you.
Thanks for listening. This is the Golfi Real Estate Show. Get a hold of Rob Golfi and his team today. They can help you with all of your real estate dreams, making them come true at 905-641-0308. Also online, robgolfi.com. That's robgolfi.com. This is 610 CKTB, Niagara's News and Talk.